In this episode of the Range Minded Podcast, we visit some of the latest news in the industry that I thought was interesting and you should know. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Range Minded Podcast. As usual, it's your host, Steve. I'm so grateful to have you guys here. It's been an exciting week. There's a lot of stuff going on. Stuff I can't talk about that I'm really excited and maybe some point I can share with you. Could be really cool. Might not happen. Who knows? Nonetheless, there's some cool things going down. And in the 2A world, there's a lot that has been happening. Like things that involve you and your rights and your safety and all sorts of stuff. And that's what I wanted to talk about. This is just going to be kind of a news episode talking about some of the stuff that's been happening lately because there's a lot. There's so much more that could be covered that I just don't have time for. So I picked a few things that I think should be known to you. Let's jump into them. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is what everybody is actually talking about. It is the 12,000-pound monkey in the room. SIG, yep, that's right, our friends in the firearms community, SIG decided to throw out some kind of a damage control letter. I'm not sure exactly what they had planned when they dropped this letter, but it was rather interesting.
Dear Darla, I hate your stinking guts.
And I think we should talk about it because I think it's important for you to know, to be the consumer in the 2A world. You should know what these manufacturers are doing, their perspective, their point of view, and maybe what they're trying to distract you from. Let's jump into this letter real quick here. So again, this was written by the CEO of SIG. And I'm just going to read it verbatim. We're going to go through it, and then we'll dissect it here in a minute. This letter was posted March 7th, 2025. The P320 cannot, under any circumstances, discharge without the trigger pull. This is a fact. The allegations against the P320 are nothing more than individuals seeking profit or to avoid personal responsibility. Recently, anti-gun groups, members of the mainstream media, trial attorneys, and other uninformed, agenda-driven parties have launched attacks on one of Sig Sauer's most trusted, most tested, and most popular products, the P320 pistol. In all cases, these individuals have an ulterior motive behind their baseless allegations that the P320 can fire without a trigger pull. They have no evidence, no data, and no empirical testing to support any of their claims. They instead choose to misrepresent clear, negligent discharges as a design problem. In the decade since its introduction, the P320 has undergone the most rigorous testing and evaluation of any firearm by military and law enforcement agencies around the world. It consistently delivers a proven record of performance and reliability through state-of-the-art engineering and documented quality control at every stage of its production. Claims that unintended discharges are anything more than negligent handling and or manufactured lies.
You sure about that?
To support anti-gun, anti-SIG agenda are false. Furthermore, lawsuits claiming that the P320 is capable of firing without the trigger being pulled have been dismissed in courtrooms around the country.
You sure about that?
In addition, multiple plaintiffs, so-called experts, have conceded it is not possible for the P320 to discharge unless the trigger is fully actuated. The rhetoric is high. We can no longer stay silent with lawsuits, and we can no longer stay silent while lawsuits run their course. And clickbait farming, engagement hacking grifters continue their campaign to hijack the truth for profit. Enough is enough. From the courts of law to the courts of public opinion, we will combat these lies and misinformation with the truth. Sig Sauer stands behind the quality, safety, and design of all our products, especially the P320. Industry, take notice. What's happening today to Sig Sauer with the anti-gun mob and their lawfare tactics will happen tomorrow to another firearms manufacturer, and then another. Today, for Sig Sauer, it ends.
Tut, 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 tut. Bye-bye.
It's pretty interesting that SIG had to bring this letter up to the forefront. Why? Why do they feel the need to do this now? So, in my short search history on this particular subject, I was curious because I've seen a lot of videos. I've seen a lot of posts, whether it be on social media or YouTube or wherever, about the 320 and its issues with safety.
In the face! In the face! No!
And so I've done a little digging. I've searched around, and I wanted to find lawsuits related to unintended discharge of the P320.
How long have you known the plaintiff?
I haven't actually seen it, but I have seen the firm, and I am planning on renting the Pelican Brief.
Now, let me first put it this way. I have nothing against Sig Sauer. I don't own any Sig products other than some optics, but I have no ill will towards the company. They make some cool stuff. Do I want the 320? No, the 320 does not and never has appealed to me. The 365, yeah, okay, it's a good carry gun, but it too has had a rough history in the beginning, at least. Some of their ammunition I have tested personally, and I find it to be substandard, especially in defensive use. I would never personally, in my experience with it, I would never carry any kind of SIG ammunition. Now, you got to understand that SIG has the military contract, right? That Smith & Wesson, Glock, all those were beat out for the contract for the United States military, at least their sidearm, for the SIG handgun. Well, what we civilians say, the 320. Could there be potentially an issue, maybe out of fear that they posted this letter? Maybe they fear, could be, this is all hypothetical, of course, are they worried that their contract with the United States military is in jeopardy? And so they need to start COA. You know what I mean?
I object, Your Honor!
To yourself?
But I was curious, again, back to the research. Are there any active lawsuits against SIG that have not been dismissed? Yeah, there are, actually. I went through Grok because Grok is now the research animal of the universe, and gave him a criteria to search for, and I wanted to find it. He found me 14 cases where individuals or organizations or agencies have filed suit against Sig Sauer. Some of those may have already been dismissed. Some of those may be going to trial. There are actually more than that, more than those 14 that are still in the legal machine milling their way through. All in all, somewhere there is between 64 and 100 court cases involving the P320 and Sig Sauer. Some of those could be grifters. Some of those could be anti-gunners. Sure, absolutely. The anti-gunners find any way to make things difficult for anything Second Amendment. Absolutely. But for SIG to say that there's no empirical evidence of any kind of unintentional firing or discharge of that weapon is completely false. Unless you're saying that hundreds of videos on YouTube are fake. There's body cam footage. There's security footage of officers, whether they take their gun off and the gun moves weirdly, or there's one I remember inside this lobby of a police department where they're wrestling down a suspect and the gun goes off in his holster. Come on now, SIG. Come on. It's not 100% false that this stuff's happened. We know this stuff is happening. So why are you so intent on sharing this letter that is pretty stern, pretty strongly worded, and pretty matter of fact? Yet, we do have evidence of malfunctions. Now, SIG as a company, I'm not going to get into it. Let's just say there's a lot of questionable stuff in SIG's history, potentially, allegedly, I don't know this for a fact, but I have seen some investigative journalism on the company itself that make me wonder if I even want to buy a SIG product in the future. But that's neither here nor there. Because what we have in front of us right now is this letter and what's really happening with the P320. I'm not telling you, maybe you really love SIGs. I know there's a lot of folks out there that really love SIG products. Look, the Rattler, the MPX, the Spear, all those are cool guns. I think they're just fine. But there's enough shade being cast on this whole 320 debacle. I don't know. I'm really curious to see where this goes. And again, maybe there's some concern with the new president and his team looking for fraud and all this stuff that SIG is worried. That is not 100%. I can't say that it's 100%, but I'm just pontificating on this subject. Perhaps there's more to this that we can't see that's not being said, that's written between the lines. And that's something we'll have to see in the future. I guess, what do you guys think? Do you think SIG is being, hiding their negligence? Do you think SIG's an upstanding company? Do you have a 320? Are you experiencing or have you experienced any kind of malfunction with your P320? I'm curious. Let me know. Pop it down in the comments because I'd be really curious to see what your experiences are. Again, I don't think SIG is a terrible company that deliberately makes guns that malfunction. No, of course not. But I'm curious. What say you guys? Tell me what you think. All right, so I forgot I had this. This is a letter from the Fraternal Order of Police to Sig Sauer. And it reads this: Dear Mr. Cohen, and this is dated November 21st of 2024, so not too long ago. Dear Mr. Cohen, I am writing to you on behalf of the members of the Fraternal Order of Police to address a pressing concern regarding the reported safety issues with the Sig Sauer P320 firearm. Recently, Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission identified incidents of premature discharges involving the Sig Sauer P320 during basic law enforcement academy firearms training. Spit that out. A student experienced a premature discharge with their agency-issued firearm. Upon further review, the Washington State Criminal Justice Training, linked this event to similar occurrences this year. Out of concern for safety, the Washington State Criminal Justice Training Commission has since prohibited the use of the P320 on its training facilities. Interesting. Additionally, the Police Department of Austin, Texas, has removed the P320 from its approved weapons list, citing reports of malfunctions of the trigger system that may cause the weapon to discharge without the trigger being pulled. Such concerns about the reliability of these firearms strike to the heart of safety of the officer's safety. Confidence in their equipment is essential for law enforcement officers. These reports raise serious questions about the safety and the reliability of the P320, which many of our members rely on to perform their daily duties. These concerns must be addressed promptly and transparently to protect officers and the communities they serve. In order to provide members with the relevant information, I respectfully request the following: an explanation of any known issues with Sig Sauer P320, particularly those involved in trigger systems or premature discharges. Information on corrective measures that Sig Sauer has implemented or plans to implement, including upgrades, inspections, or recalls to address these concerns. And third, any guidance or resources that Sig Sauer can provide to ensure the safety of officers currently using the P320. The officers who rely on our products must have absolute confidence in the safety and performance of their weapon. Your prompt response and cooperation will help us address these concerns and provide our members with the necessary information to make informed decisions regarding their equipment. On behalf of more than 377,000 members of the Fraternal Order of Police, I trust in Sig Sauer's dedication of supporting law enforcement community and addressing these concerns with urgency and transparency that the situation requires. please contact me or Executive Director Jim Pasco. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So, again, we know this. Like, SIG, there are major concerns, and there are agencies that are experiencing this. Documented instances of things happening with the P320.
Allegedly.
They're not just in passing. They're not anti-gunners. They're not clickbaiters or grifters. These are real people using your products in the line of duty or in self-defense in some cases, relying on their personal safety anyways, either way, that now have major issues. And we've known these issues for a while. So why now, Sig? Why? Let's turn pages here, and we'll visit our neighbors to the north. Listen, I know Canada gets and sometimes justly deserved, I suppose, but it gets kind of a bad rap. I get it. We're the rough redneck neighbor that has everything we want and everything we need and is willing to protect its other neighbors. And you're kind of the nosy, weird neighbor that doesn't like us. I get it.
What say you, Mr. American Ambassador?
Canada.
You, buddy.
I totally get it. But here's the issue. Canada, as you guys remember, a few years ago, Canada decided under Trudeau's fabulous leadership that not only would he continue wearing blackface, which I guess he didn't. That's not fair, right? But he was also going to ban the Canadians' right to keep and bear arms. Now, was it a right or was it a privilege? It was probably more of a privilege. I get that. But they restricted so many firearms for our Canadian brothers up there, brothers and sisters, who are trying to defend themselves, who understand the importance of having a firearm in their home to protect themselves and their families. Well, Canada is at it again. Just yesterday, as for this recording, I'm recording this on the 8th of March. Yesterday, the 7th, Canada decided to throw another spanner in their gun control works. They just added another 175 or 179 guns to the naughty list, effectively taking everything they said. You might be able to keep some of this stuff. No, they lied, which anti-gunners always lie. They have, and I'll push the list here in the show notes, but there's a ton of guns on this list, mostly manufacturers that manufacture similar guns. Nonetheless, there's 170, let me make sure you get this, 179 more models that are now banned, effective immediately in Canada.
Don't call me a rat, buddy. I'm not your buddy, friend. He's not your friend, guy. I'm not your guy, buddy.
Now, I'm sorry to my northern brothers and sisters. You guys live in a totalitarian regime, a country that lies to you about tariffs that are being placed on from the United States. I'm not going to get into that stuff, but you need to look at things objectively. You need to look at your leadership. Your leadership is absolutely failing you. I believe there was actually a mass shooting today in Canada. I'll have to dig that up to double check. But Canada, seriously, what are you doing with your leadership? Your system is failing you. And now you have less ability to protect yourselves against bad guys that will not follow the law. They don't care. They don't care about the gun laws in Canada. They'll do whatever they want. And yeah, you might see guns come up from your southern border, like we see from our southern border. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Because here's the deal. Our guns are guaranteed by the Constitution. We have the right to keep and bear arms. You gave up that ability when you let somebody else pressure you in to keep you safe rather than to keep you free. Safety is never greater than freedom. I'll take violent freedom over peaceful safety any day. Listen, here's the deal, okay? These guys, these Canadian guns, I have to read off this thing. Gun owners have until March 1st, 2026 to have turned all these stuff. If they own them, they have to turn them in or they're under big trouble, right? Canada's going to take their syrup away. They have to do it. After that, there is no amnesty after next year. and it's awful. I mean, these guns are used to hunt. These guns are used for sport, whatever, culling coyotes or varmints off of their property. A myriad of uses. These guns weren't even involved in shootings and in crime. That's the problem. In fact, one of the Canadian rights asked people, let's say this. Okay, so I'll read this. The Liberal government says it's all about public safety, but the firearms community up there is calling it a sham. The Canadian Coalition of Firearms Rights, which is a guns rights group, says that they're absolutely pissed. They're saying that it's a bait and switch. Yet their gun control groups are hailing it as a huge victory. These guns, they're not like the AR-15s and aren't like these scary guns that everybody pointed. They're not running around with fully autos. These are things like the M1 carbine. Okay, this is outdated tech that, because it's semi-automatic, this is now bad and scary. This is important for us as Americans to see this, because this is the same thing that anti-gunners here in the States are going to do when they start saying, well, we only want to ban this type of gun. And then you give them that tiny little inch, and they're going to go another inch, and then 6 feet, and then a mile, and then your guns are gone. It's important as Americans that we pay attention to what's going on north of the border, because that stuff is going to be used as a pattern of how to take guns away from us here. Now, I understand that our rights are different than your privileges in Canada. And I have a sneaking hunch, at least I hope, that people are far less willing to just give up stuff. I know I'm not willing to give up stuff that simply. But here's the deal. It's just one tragedy away, right? Your rights can be taken with tragedies. Or if you could just save one child. Well, here's the deal. We already know guns save more lives than they take every year in the United States, even though those statistics are always buried, always hidden. You never hear about the pro-firearms use stuff. You always hear about the negative stuff. There's a reason for that you're being fed disinformation, because they want you controlled, right? Just like we're seeing up north. Our Canadians friends up there, you guys need to wake up. You guys need to do something. Your country is being taken away from your country is being taken away from you systematically, bit by bit, piece by piece, until you will be under the thumb completely. Wake up, my friends. Wake up. Shake those chains off and fight back. Start at the ballot box. Do whatever you can. Your freedom is important, just as important as our freedom here in the States. This is terrible. I can't believe. Well, I can believe Canada would allow this to happen. Sorry, Canada. Like, some of the stuff, you kind of did it on your own. You did it to yourself. But we're here to help you if you need help. If you ask for help, we're here. All right, let's jump back to the States, because that's that's really my audience, right? We here in America. Good things are happening pro two-way side on our side of the border. Trump has been in office for a little, right around 2 months now, right? We're seeing a lot of, or 3 months, 2 months. I can't do math. So we're seeing a lot of things that he promised that are kind of taking shape into reality now. We saw that he signed the executive order trying to protect our Second Amendment rights, telling Congress to stop forcing things on the government or on the people that are unnecessary and burdensome on our Second Amendment. Fabulous. But now we're seeing something even better. Okay. Senator Mike Lee and Representative Green just sent a letter to the Commerce Secretary saying, hey, you got to quit infringing on our rights as two-way holders. Open up the commerce ability to bring stuff, import stuff again, stuff that has been implied since Obama and then reiterated under Biden, to keep foreign ammunition and foreign arms from coming into the United States. There are so many cool things being manufactured out of country that are unavailable to us because of this Commerce Act thing that the previous administration fortified. This is a burden on me and on you. Europe just had their like SHOT Show thing just recently. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. So many cool guns, so many cool things being manufactured overseas that are unavailable. For example, the Beretta 1301. This is a perfect example. So it initially was built with a 7-round magazine. Well, under this rule, we can't have that because I don't know why, because it's scary, I guess, to have 2 extra rounds. So now you can only get them imported with 5-round magazines. What's the point? No point whatsoever. It's a fabulous shotgun, super cool, but those extra 2 rounds make it extra dangerous. No, it doesn't. And that's exactly what Mike Lee here is trying to say is quit the crap. Let's make this happen. I remember as a kid buying ammunition for my SKS that was like $2-3 a box of 20. Mind you, that was quite a while ago. But still, let's import ammo that can be fed through these guns for cheap. I miss cheap ammo. Here's the thing. When we're importing other ammunition from other countries, it forces American manufacturers to lower their prices, meaning it's good for everybody. It's great. That is consumerism. We want to be able to buy affordable ammunition, affordable firearms, and have a better selection of things that could be available in the United States. But up until, well, hopefully recently or hopefully soon, that is rescinded. I want to be able to have what I want. There's nothing wrong with that. So feds, wake up. Let's make this happen. What's happening? It's Steve with the Range Minded Podcast. And I'm here to share with you a goal that I have for 2025. Now, I've been doing the podcast now since 2018. That's a long time. But it's been kind of a lull as far as people actually subscribing to the show. So I set a goal for this year to hit 1,000 subscribers on each of my YouTube and my Rumble channel. Now, a lot of you people already follow me on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or even TikTok. But very few of you guys actually follow me on where you can watch the show. So do me a favor. As soon as this video is over, jump over to the YouTube channel, jump over to the Rumble channel, and hit subscribe. That would mean the world to me. It may not be much to you, but it is a lot to me. Help me achieve my goal of 1,000 subs this year, and all your wildest dreams will come true. There might be some kind of a disclaimer after that, but you get the point. Anyways, thanks, guys. Take somebody shooting, and as always, stay range-minded. See ya. Not to mention the stuff that's going on at the ATF. Recently, we saw the FBI director, Kash Patel, also now in charge of the ATF. Now, that stuff could change. There could be some changes made there. But having somebody like Kash, which I'm totally cool with, being in charge of the ATF, at least right now, we'll see. You never know. That's shaking up the whole possibility of the NFA and the items within that NFA, which are restricted by a burdensome tax. Right? If you remember the history of the NFA back in the day in the 1934, we had a big problem with gangsters using all sorts of cool guns to rob banks. And for some reason, I don't know why, they decided to create a tax to help get these guys on tax evasion as well as violent crime. Why not just punish them for the violent crime? Whatever. Now, that tax hasn't changed. It's always been, since the inception of this law, it's been $200 per NFA item. Now, that means short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, fully automatics, and your silencers, right? So all this stuff, and almost pistols. Pistols were just about on that list. But now, with the shakeup on the ATF and President Trump doing a little bit of pressure, we could see things really change, at least on the suppressor side, which I'm hoping, and maybe more, maybe even on the SBR type things. Because really, the short-barreled rifle, that is such a stupid law. It's completely ridiculous. But here we are. We're hopefully coming to a point where you can buy a suppressor over the counter. I mean, I'd be all for even still paying the tax, that $200 tax, if I could just go through a standard NICS check at the counter and be done with it. Take my suppressor home because it's an accessory. It's not a firearm, right? Why? Why can't we? We live in the age of modernity here. Why can't we just have stuff like this that's actually designed to protect our hearing? It doesn't make it movie star quiet. You're not going to be, it's not like John Wick, right? That scene where him and what's his name are shooting each other with suppressed pistols in the subway. That doesn't happen. That's not real. But it does bring it down to hearing safe levels in not all cases, but some cases. Why? Why not? How fabulous would this be for you to go through a NICS check, which honestly is the same check that you're going to go through if you bought the suppressor, but without the waiting time? And I know we're seeing shorter times. There's actually some rumblings. I saw some videos the other day that there might be changing how those suppressor paperwork is being processed to bring those wait times back up, which is asinine. There's zero reason for that. Let's just take the dang things off of the naughty list and make owning a suppressor great again, shall we? And here's the reality with those last two stories. We're seeing momentum building for our rights to be more fully restored when it comes to the Second Amendment. I believe that I'm an absolutist, and I know that makes some people uncomfortable. Well, criminals shouldn't be owning guns. You can't own an F-16 or a nuclear weapon. Those are ridiculous arguments. First of all, if you're a criminal, a violent criminal that shouldn't be trusted with your rights, then why aren't you in jail and incarcerated? That's the thing, right? Maybe if you can prove to society that you have paid your dues, you should have your rights restored. If you're violent and or a murderer or somebody who should not be on the street, then you should be locked up and your rights are unavailable to you. That's what I think. As far as F-16s and nuclear weapons, here's the deal. Back in the day of our founding, we had privateers, men who owned ships that were better than the Americans had, the American military had available to them, that rivaled the navy of the greatest navy in the world. These were private citizens who owned ships with lots of cannons and other cool things like the Puckle gun. Yeah, I feel like we should have that ability. Maybe the restraining factor would be cost. And there you go. As far as owning a nuclear bomb, let's be real. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But as far as owning an Apache helicopter, why not? Why not? You can buy tanks. Yeah, they're demilled, but why not? That's all I'm saying. We'll see. If everything works out, if Congress gets off their hind end, and obviously midterms are going to play a huge deal on this, maybe we'll see the NFA gone, at least things taken off the NFA. Maybe we'll have national reciprocity. It should be obvious that these things should exist. We live in a free country, and we have a president with a tremendous amount of momentum, and Congress that has been given a mandate to bring back our true freedoms. So let's hopefully this all happens. Let's hope it does. We'll see. Like I mentioned before, Europe is doing their own they have their own little SHOT Show thing. It's called Enforce TAC, and it's really geared towards military and law enforcement type of thing in the European market. But still, some of that stuff trickles down into the United States market. And something that Jim Reeves from the Firearm Blog, if you don't know who Jim Reeves is, you really should know who he is. But he had a ton of cool videos showcasing a ton of cool stuff that's being designed over there, and hopefully we'll get here. But one of the things that he talked about, which I want to share with you, and I'll stitch in the video here, Benelli came out with something they're calling the AI, I can't remember the name of the shotgun exactly, but it is designed to specifically attack drones. Now, we've seen an uptick in drone use, whether it be in the military or civilian use, like things in conflict specifically, I guess, in Ukraine and in the Middle East. And law enforcement obviously uses drones quite a bit. But to combat the negative side of drone use in warfare, Benelli decided, hey, let's team up they teamed up with Norma, and they designed the M4 and they adapted the M4 to handle these new tungsten, their shells with tungsten number 6 shot. Now there's like 250 pellets in each shot, some ridiculous number of these little tungsten BBs that create this cloud to just address the situation of drone warfare. Obviously, I don't know how far these tungsten BBs will reach. I'd be curious to see the effectiveness of each one of these shots. But it's interesting nonetheless. That's one of the reasons I got really interested in shotguns reinterested in shotguns as of late, by watching the stuff that's going on between Ukraine and Russia with their drone warfare, and wondering how I would combat that if that happened to me in my neighborhood. So this is pretty cool. And again, I'll kind of link the video somewhere in here somewhere. I don't know, maybe in the show notes on TFB TV that talks about this. I think it's super cool. And to see Benelli, and I'm sure other shotgun manufacturers are going to jump on this as well. This is important because we're seeing the evolution of warfare. And I can't remember what was it, one of the Ghost games that had drone swarms and stuff. What we saw in video games 15 years ago is stuff we're seeing now. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of spooky, but I love seeing that there's innovation in the gun community, or in the firearms manufacturing side anyways, that's getting into the system of protecting us for the future, if that makes any sense whatsoever. That's one thing I really love about the manufacturing side of the firearms community is, though they might be small innovations, they're innovations with a purpose. We haven't seen any huge leaps and bounds in firearms design, but we have seen the tweaks and the evolution inside those designs to keep things relevant. And that's why I think it's so cool. There's always new stuff out there, new stuff to learn, new stuff to see. Again, check out that new Benelli. It's super cool. I just like the Benelli anyways. I wouldn't mind having one. But then to see this new Norma ammo with the tungsten, again, if any of you have the ability to test this stuff out, I would love to see it. I would love to see what happens with this use of those tungsten shells. It should be pretty cool. Anyway, that's about it. Those are just some of the short stories I thought you might find interesting. We talked about the SIG issue, which I think is a major issue, and I imagine that's going to go far deeper into the future the more this evolves. And I imagine SIG and the United States government at some point are going to have a sit down with all these complaints. I imagine there's something serious that's going to happen there, and we probably won't ever even know about it. That's what the reality is, and it kind of sucks. We also talked about some of the new stuff that's coming out. We talked about the shotgun from Jim that Reeves showed on his YouTube channel. We talked about the potential of NFA items being removed off the list, or the NFA gone completely, which would be amazing. And our friends in Canada, I really wish we could do something more for them, but it's time for them to stand up and take their country back. In all honesty, it's something they're going to have to do themselves. At some point, we might step in. I hope not. I hope we don't have to go that far. But in reality, sorry to our friends up north. You guys have to fix that problem. Anyway, that's it. I hope you guys had fun with this episode. I'm sure there's something I missed. Please comment below. Maybe there's some of your thoughts or insights on some of these things. I'd be curious to hear your words. You can always find me on the socials, obviously on X at RangeMinded, but there's RangeMinded Podcast on whether it's Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, RangeMinded Podcast. You can jump on the website, rangemindedpodcast.com. There you can buy a patch, or you can comment there. That'd be great if you bought a patch, because that helps kind of bump a little income to the show and helps me keep the lights on around here. If you want to donate to the show in any other way, you can find my Linktree, which I should have on my website. I'm pretty sure. I always say that, but I never really look because, I'm just this boring white kid from Idaho. You guys are awesome. I want you to make sure that you know that I care about you and your safety. So please always stay tuned in. If you like this content, please share it with a friend. Comment below. Follow us on Spotify and Twitter and all these other places. You know the gigs. You know the drill. You know the guy, as our former president once said. As always, I want you guys to take somebody shooting. And don't forget, you got to always stay range-minded. See you guys.
Well, bye.